Today's episode is something that most people are not willing to say out loud. I don't have it all figured out. Matthew joins me for a conversation about life after high school, trying to find purpose, identity, and connection, all while balancing college and chasing something bigger. This is not a story about having the right answers. This is about showing up, asking the right questions, and staying honest in the process. Like the video, subscribe so you don't miss the next story, drop a comment if you feel stuck or unsure, and send this to someone who you think may benefit from this story. Real stories, real people. This is the common thread. Let's get into it.
My name is Matthew Macias. I go to DVC out in Concord. It's community college out there, going into my second year this fall. I major in business and I'm a YouTuber. Well, was a YouTuber, coming back into it slowly. I posted pranks like Home Depot, fake employee falling with crutches, just stupid stuff like that.
I remember junior, senior year in high school, you had all these little businesses. So tell me.
So I actually had a window cleaning business, which did so good for me. It's kind of getting competitive because I work at Home Depot and I see a lot of kids. Actually, yesterday, kids are buying all these window cleaning, all these curb painting, doing their own thing now, which is great. I made a lot of money doing that the summertime. And then I did some pressure washing, just little businesses trying to get some money on the side on top of working. So I've always been.
Was that something that you did because you needed income and you couldn't find a job, or you just wanted to work for yourself? What was that?
I mean, this is my third summer doing it. So back then I was like 16 doing this. I had a car that was paid off. I wasn't paying bills for anything, maybe just getting food here and there. It was all just sitting in my bank account, if I'm being honest. It's not like I invested it later in the future. It was just money that I spent in college, I guess. So it was just some fun money later.
So how do we know each other?
Mr. Price taught me my junior year of high school. Great teacher. It was ethics.
They all say that, great teacher, but
No, it is true though. Mr. Price has taught me a lot, especially about one thing I've never done is actually gave back to like the community and stuff like that. And so when he took us to the Most Holy Redeemer here in San Francisco and had a chance to, help the community and serve people, but didn't just give them food, kind of just provide hospitality and make them feel special. And I did it with friends, including you. It was really fun. And so to be able to do that, and we did it again, it was a lot of fun. And you kind of remember some of the people, oh, this is the person that has the photo of who was like The Rock or something.
Mary. So what was that like serving a population that deal with housing insecurities, food insecurities, normal things which we take advantage of, just regular toiletries?
Yeah, well, it was obviously sad to see. What was shocker to me was obviously you've seen people on the streets that kind of just, you stereotype them, they're homeless. But when you see people that look normal and they're going in there because maybe they don't have food and they're taking food home too, you never really know what anyone's going through and how much someone has until you really get to know them and what they're going through. I'm going to relate this back to my work. I have a coworker who at the time was part-time. He was like 3 months behind on rent. He didn't even have electricity in his house. All of his food in coolers that didn't even have ice in them. All the food got rotten. His mom has dementia, and when he comes home, there's like 14 plates of food on the table when it's just them there. He got evicted out of his house. He was in the shelter for a little bit while working at Home Depot. And this was like my best buddy at work. It kind of sucks that people actually have to go through that. And now he's full time. I called him the other day because I don't work with him anymore. He works morning days, and he has his own. He's doing his own thing now. He's doing pretty good. You never really know what someone's going through until you actually know them. It's quite literally everyone you see, which was a big deal to me when I went there and witnessed all that with you.
What's the importance of getting to know someone to understand their story? Why is that so important?
I think you start to like them more, to be honest with you. DC is a sweetheart too, or the guy at Home Depot that I'm talking about. DC was a sweetheart. You really want to keep these people in your life, and they also share knowledge to you too. So it's kind of like he's like in his 40s, and he would always tell me, Matt, you got to save your money. He used to be security guard at clubs and all this stuff. He's like, you got to be smart with your money, do all this good stuff. He's also someone that has a lot of knowledge and trauma. You get to build knowledge off these people and not get your foot in that water they were in. It's also good to surround yourself with those people too.
I think that it kind of humanizes, hearing people's stories, it humanizes them, and their experience becomes more human because we see it on the streets, we see it in social media, we see it on the news, or we hear stories of it, but when we know someone that's actually going through it,
Yeah.
it humanizes it. So looking back through how we met, you as a junior in high school to now. Looking back when you were a student to now, what did you learn from our relationship?
Yeah, a lot actually. You taught me a lot about being moral and stuff like that, and I feel like that's something I've never really thought about, especially with stuff that's going on in the world right now. Like we talked about the ICE raids, there's not a lot of moral things with our government. So I feel like you kind of opened a side of my brain to look at the moral side of this things. And as someone that's a conservative, I feel like sometimes you see how things aren't moral in America and how the government isn't always moral, especially being on the stricter side of the government.
How does that influence the way you perceive politics?
I just, at the end of the day, I feel like there will never be a good candidate for someone that I think could run the country. I think the way I approach it, which is really sad, which is probably not the correct way to approach it, kind of just give up on it, if I'm being honest. Because at the end of the day, and I know everyone says your vote matters, but one vote, especially in California, a red vote does not mean anything. A blue vote, obviously, is just pitching into what's going on in California. But at some point, there's nothing.
What's some things that which you believe I understood about you as a person? What are some things that you think I have learned in life because of our friendship relationship?
That's another great question.
Personally, myself, I think that, you know, it's interesting how institutions, especially in the education system, where they build a classroom. And somehow I had all five of you who were particularly called the knuckleheads in one class. Now, the question that I have for the institution is, were they trying to make it difficult? Was it trying to challenge me? Was it to build more character, be a better educator? Regardless of whatever the truth behind that, I think it was the right combination because not only did you guys remind me that, yes, this is an educational setting, but we're also human because of the model of the Salesians, where there's that church, home, school, playground model of just like to have fun in all aspects of what we do. Now, obviously, you guys had fun in the classroom, but sometimes you went too far, which, that's young people, right, in the classroom. But I think that you all taught me that it's okay to be a goofball at the right times and also not to take myself so seriously all the time as well. I think you guys allowed me to be more relaxed and to approach you not just as an educator, but someone that is accompanying you in your journey through education, experiences, and providing opportunities.
That's what I was gonna say, if I was being honest. I had that in the back of my mind, but I think the thing I was worried about when answering this question was like, he doesn't feel that way, like he didn't feel that way or something like that. But in the back of my mind, I was hoping that you were gonna mention about having fun and just making school, and I think that's kind of what I always wanted to do in the classroom, which is maybe my point in life. I feel like that might be my job in life, is to spice things up.
Entertain people. I think
Exactly.
you're definitely an entertainer. I even remember looking at some of the videos that you post on the channel, and I'm like, and you're still a student at the time, and I'm watching them, and I'm like going, oh my God, this is funny. I can't believe he did that. But that's freaking funny. You can't help but laugh, especially when you all decide to play soccer. I'm sitting there going, what are these goofballs doing? They're having fun on the field, but yet you all were actually pretty good.
I know, that's crazy.
And so it was like you were doing it for fun, but you also took it serious enough to where it's like, no, we could actually be really good.
Yeah.
But even then, there are moments on the field where the coaches are dead serious about certain things, and then you guys are still having fun and you still deliver. And I thought, all right, this is great. This is awesome. That's what made it so much fun for me, because I was so invested in the soccer program, because I was invested in you guys and the community we had built.
It was so spontaneous that we did that.
Yes.
It was really funny. And then Luis, towards the end of the JV season, he gets brought up to varsity and he scores a goal in the first game. That was really funny. Did you
Yeah.
know that the next year, so after that year of soccer, the next year I played goalie?
Yeah, I
And
remember.
did you know that I was ranked in California as a goalie?
No, I did not know.
That was insane. No, I mean, I walked into practice one time and then Luis is there too. And then Tyler, he walks up to me, he's like, Matt, did you see your ranking on Max Preps? I was like, what? Like, what are you talking about? for California, which is a competitive state. I was top 20, and so that's when I was like, "What's happening?" And it was all based on saves and stuff like that.
Mm,
Uh,
so the numbers don't lie.
the numbers, but I just thought that was funny how you mentioned how we would just clown everything. It wasn't like we were just dicks the whole time. There would be
Right.
times we would lock in, and there'd be times we'd just have fun, and the coaches loved it. But we did deliver, and I think that
That's
was funny.
It was hilarious. You guys made it fun, but you also made it very competitive. And those that have been playing soccer for many, many years, I think they also got a new taste of just like, it can be fun. We're in high school. Yeah, you're competing for your future, whether that was through education, college, or professionally. You can still have fun. Even with professionals now, they can still have fun on the field or off the field, on the sidelines when they celebrate or whatever. You guys also did that as well, but a lot of times you guys did it on the field, which was hilarious.
Those were fun times. I'm sorry. Those were fun times.
They were fun.
They were fun times.
Oh,
Yeah.
those were great memories for me. I mean, those 2 years at Salesian were the best. All the years of my life. I would say Salesian was probably number 2. My first, obviously, will be at Walsh Jesuit. The first time I was ever in an educational setting with young people. I worked with young people in parish
When
settings.
did you work at, you said Walsh?
Walsh, yeah, that was back in 2017 and 18. And it was really nice to realize that this is the environment that I like to be part of, or at least continue my professional life with people in the educational setting. Being at Salesian was number 2, of course. For me, it was important, and I mentioned this to Ethan in a previous podcast, that it was important for me because I never worked with a diverse population before. I mean,
I've never been around that either.
and like being at other schools where it had a little diverse population, but it was definitely diverse in the student population. That's what I loved about it. And I felt more connected because I didn't feel really other.
Yeah, I was actually gonna agree to that. Being in Martinez, my first, I mean, that was most of my life. Besides high school, I had like 3 black kids in a public school with 500 kids. When you go from that to a school that's predominantly black or Asian, there's everything. There's literally everything there. Everything is at Salesian.
Yeah.
And so, in fact, I think I was probably one of the only white kids at Salesian.
One of the few, yeah.
To be honest with you, when you start talking to these people at Salesian, you start to compare, schools and stuff like that. It was much more loyal. You had people that had your back. And, Luis was like sophomore, junior year, I started becoming friends with him. And now I literally just come to his house. I ain't even got to tell him I'm coming over. I just pull up to his house. His mom's like, she even buys me food from the grocery store because she knows I'm coming over. And my other friends from Salesian, it just doesn't compare the kind of families that you build in one community versus the other. I just think that everyone's genuine. And it could also be that there was only 99 people in our graduating class, and it felt so tight. I knew everything about everyone. I loved that.
I liked the closeness the school provided. Ultimately, it was all about support and love and family. At least that's my takeaway from Salesian. And for you to be one of the few white kids at that school, how did that influence and affect you?
Yeah, I went from all white to pretty much diverse. And so the first thing I'm thinking about when I get there is I need to make friends. And I thought I couldn't make friends with anyone here. I mean, everyone literally knew everyone, or not everyone, knew connections. I didn't know anyone there when I walked in. So it was hard to make friends. It was even harder to make friends with someone that I felt wasn't white. And it's honestly like, it's different. It's really different from someone that grew up that's like all white. And I probably sound horrible. I probably sound like horrible, to be honest with you, but it was just so nice to finally be able to kind of like connect with everyone. And it translates to life right now because I go to the gym, I go anywhere around town, and I talk to everyone. I feel like everyone that I see, I've already talked to in life, and I talk to everyone. And I feel like that's great that I got to be introduced to diverse people that we're not all just the same canvas. So
It probably introduced this concept of lowering down the walls of the other, right? And allowed you to kind of embrace inclusivity in a different way.
yeah,
And being able to say that, growing up in an all white community, there was a lot of walls when I was engaging in other diverse communities because I was never exposed. And it made it difficult for me. And even with Indian people, like as an Indian in a white family, in a white community, I knew nothing about the Indian culture. But then when I was introduced to my own culture and community, when I went back to India for the first time,
when was that?
that was back in 2007.
Okay. How old were you?
maybe 22,
Okay.
23 at the time. When I went to India for the first time, in which I'll put that right here.
I'm curious to see it.
Yeah. If I actually, I don't know if I still have it. No, I do. I do have a physical copy of the photo. I was always mistreated by other Indian people, and people embracing all the white people that I brought with me. And it was just like, hello? No, they didn't matter because to me, I was not a pure blood. Some would say that I was not a pure blood or I just didn't belong. Because I was Indian, I still didn't belong because I was American or I was Americanized or whatever. And so nowhere was I ever really welcomed when I joined the Society of Jesus. They gave me a new lens in the way in which I perceived the world and how I would interact with diverse communities. But when I fully was put into that Salesian, that was when those barriers were really brought down because I felt included. I felt actually part of a family in a
Mm.
set and welcome. So that's why now I'm much more, I guess, receptive, much more open
Mm-hmm.
um, to interact with culturally diverse individuals.
No, I think that's your own experience, and that's something I can't relate with, especially it's not something that I've had to experience. You know, I look white. Well,
But
actually,
wait, so you say you're white, but
I'm
you're
not.
not.
Yeah.
I think that's a misconception.
So if I were to go to Alhambra, I'd be considered a Mexican for sure.
Okay.
Even though I am Mexican, I am half Brazilian. That's what I would claim
Yeah.
myself. But when I go to Legion, I'm albino over there.
Did you ever express or share your culture identity when you were at Salesian?
I kind of limited that only because, in fact, I actually just put it in my Instagram, like the flag, to kind of associate myself with them. And it's not like I'm scared or I don't claim Brazil or anything like that. It's just like I said, a lot of people just viewed me as white. If I told them I was Brazilian, they wouldn't believe it based on what I believed in the government and kind of how I looked. So I kind of just, I never really cared to share unless, when it came to soccer. That
Because of the societal pressures of where they think that you belong politically, or because you wasn't really ready to fully articulate your culture identity?
Well, it had to do with, and at the time, I've gotten more familiar with Brazil and my culture. My mom's fully Brazilian. I hear her on the phone talking in Portuguese every day, yelling at my grandma. They're yelling back and forth. I hear it all the time. Yeah, so I mean, I'm going there more frequent now, and I'm kind of familiarizing with myself with my culture. But it was just something that I felt I wasn't educated enough, and at the same time, I don't think I could associate myself as a Brazilian.
What are you proud about now about your culture?
If I'm being honest, it's
Yeah.
soccer. Soccer, and when you go to Brazil, I played this one game inside this grass area that was the place I was staying at, and I was the only American. It feels like I'm the only American in Brazil, the only one that speaks English there. And I play soccer with these kids, and of course they put me in goal because I told them I played goalie back then. Everyone there knows how to play soccer. The women out there play better than the guys' team in America, and it's like, that's Legion. And so I felt like once I could actually play soccer, uh, I felt like I was, maybe I am Brazilian and kind of associate myself more with Brazil. And also when I would visit there, I kind of just got familiar with some words and stuff like that. So I felt like overall, I genuinely love Brazil now.
So you resonated with the culture,
Exactly, yeah.
immersed in something that was part of your identity.
Yeah, because I didn't want to claim, like Mexico, I'm Mexican, I can't really claim it. My dad doesn't speak Spanish. My grandma and grandpa don't even speak Spanish.
Mm.
I would only go to Mexico just for the vacation part. It wouldn't even be about, let me learn about my culture. So I never claimed being Mexican, even though it's like a quarter of my identity.
What are some favorite Brazilian that you really like?
I don't know if I'm saying it right. So
No, go ahead.
I think it's called pastel. And it's the best way I can describe it is kind of like a pocket. It's like a deep fried pocket.
Uh-huh.
And it just has cheese inside, like white cheese.
Oh, yeah.
The one I had in Richmond, which is by an authentic Brazilian place, was much more airy. In Brazil, it almost looks like I'm trying to think. I'm not gonna say like a ravioli because they're much. It's not like
Thinner?
that kind of chewy.
Yeah.
It's much more crispy, but it was much thinner. Yeah,
Yeah.
like that. But yeah, they have that all the time in Brazil. That's something I love. Another thing that I love, and my grandma makes it so well, and my mom makes it all the time too. It's just quite literally just black beans with ham in there. It's a part of a pig that they put in there. They kind of just like slow cook it, so it's very rich. and taste, and then just white rice. It's super good with black beans. It's super good.
No, that sounds good,
No,
actually. I think I know what you're talking about. My mouth
yeah.
is watering. Was there a time where you felt completely lost? And how did you overcome that?
If I answer that question, I would probably say I feel lost right now. If I'm being honest with you, only
Can we
because
include that? Because
the
here's the
the
thing, people are going to
reason.
be listening and they're going to be like, that's valid. They feel lost too at this time too. You're 19. You don't have to have all your figured out, obviously. This is a time where you are still discovering and exploring and figuring things out. I mean, that's what your 20s is.
Yeah.
And then your 30s is to kind of, okay, apply what you think you know. 40s is where it's like, okay, I'm be comfortable with myself now. I'm
Yeah.
not really worried about the perception of other people. 50s is really putting it together
Mhm.
and really focusing on it and excelling in life. 60s is where you start parting that wisdom to other people.
Mhm.
The 70s, again, continuing that parting, but then also it's like, okay, live reflecting back and saying, I could have done things better,
Yeah.
and I'm sharing it with other people.
Yeah.
You're feeling lost because of relationships that are not really that solid right now. You're trying to figure those things out, and that could be it's just relationships in general.
Yeah, and I think that's something that I am. I live off talking to people, and my whole battery is my social battery.
So that's where you recharge when you're plugged
Exactly.
in with other people.
And so when I don't have that, or I'm kind of lost on that, I just think I'm lost. So
Do you think that it's because your social circle has kind of shrunk since high school?
yeah, it's definitely changed a lot. I hang out with my Martinez friends now
Yeah.
where I live. So I hang out with the people that I grew up with a lot more now, and I see them every day. I try to hang out with some close friends, basically. But once everyone was in college, when it first initially happened, I lost it.
Yep.
I couldn't talk to anyone in class either. It wasn't like I had time to make. I was going to community college. Everyone just goes in there, gets your class done, walks out. It's not to talk to anyone. And of course, you see things on social media. People are partying in college. And so that kind of just hit me harder. I went out to college. The way I coped was by doing the same thing, just not paying the money and going out to this college. If it was making a 40-minute drive to see Zuby and Davis, or even just driving to Ethan's house, or just trying to see some people, because at the end of the day, I do run off my social battery. And I
Yeah.
feel like that's a big part of me.
I think it's been a big struggle for a lot of freshmen in college where some of the people that they've been journeying with have been with them for years. Now all of a sudden you're kind of hitting this big reset. Relationship can make and break whether or not you're going to stay at that institution. I've had people leave their college institutions because community wasn't there. How important is community? Because it fills your social battery, it fills your life battery.
I wouldn't have even thought about community or making a family if I didn't go to Salesian. Like I said, I think Salesian really brought that to me, brought like, this is a family. You don't really get close to the people in your graduating class until the final 2 weeks, or even after post graduation. You guys are tight, and it feels like this was my family. I wish I bonded with those people longer. And so, I mean, it's just kind of, you get so tight to these people at the end of the year, and then you have to break that. Everyone's moving everywhere. Even then, living in Martinez compared to Richmond is still somewhat of a commute, so it's not like I can see everyone every day. But you know what? I'm so grateful for the people I'm hanging out with in Martinez. They feel the same thing that I needed back then. And yeah, I'm having a lot of fun though. I'm still having a lot of fun. It's not like I'm just miserable at home. I'm having a lot of fun, yeah. In community college, at the same time, college is so much easier than whatever college that's not community college, to be honest with you. My workload's a lot lighter.
Do you see yourself going beyond community college? Or are you going to finish in community college?
I wouldn't be able to do that. I wouldn't be just staying in community college my whole life. I'm for sure gonna graduate or go to another school whenever it's time to transfer. But if YouTube takes off, that's kind of out the window, if I'm being honest. And I think my mom would be fine with that too.
This idea of this particular podcast was born out of an idea that I wanted to do 4 years ago. I want to focus on the church. It was always about others, which is fine. But this was a passion of mine to have conversation with people, to find stories of hope and resilience, but also sharing the common thread of stories, stories in which we find ourselves in, and be able to say that we're not alone. We're not the only one experiencing this or feeling this. This is something I'm actually passionate about, actually interested in. Who knows, maybe 2-3 years from now, I will have to be working at another place. I could be solely doing this and hopefully interview people, not just in my life, but also musicians, celebrities, and people that we typically see on YouTube or on TV, still trying to figure out those stories of hope through resilience. This is what came out of it. And who knows, this could take off, this could not take off. doesn't apply to me. I'm still going to keep on doing it because this is something I've always wanted to do.
Hmm.
I've actually been having fun with this.
There you go.
For the last 3 weeks, I filmed every day in person.
Actually,
Has there been a belief or an assumption which you had to let go?
I think it goes back to what you were talking about, the having fun part. I think at a young age, I threw that out the window. Like, you kind of just have to take everything serious. And I think that made me grow a lot, to be honest with you. I think socially, I'm very, like, I'm a confident speaker socially, and I feel like I can handle a conversation much better than some of the other people that maybe are in our class. And I feel like social intelligence is always, like, underlooked. And I actually did a paper about that in my English class. How the social butterflies don't fly in the classroom.
I like that.
Yeah, that's what I wrote.
Social butterflies do not fly in the classroom. Tell me about that.
Yeah, so I wrote a paper. It's called Social Butterflies Don't Fly in the Classroom. And I wrote it about how students who are just social intelligence in general in the classroom is just often undervalued. And some research that I pulled in was like employers, for example, when you go to an average workplace, you're expected to communicate at a high level, especially to be able to persuade people if they're buying, especially where I'm coming from and the major that I'm going. I have to persuade everything in
Yeah,
business.
in
That's
business,
it's
yeah.
literally that's all it is.
You're always selling something.
Yeah, I'm selling my words at that point.
And what your ability is everything.
Exactly. Oftentimes in the classroom, you can't talk, you can't do this. And so when you're not socially intelligent and when it comes to those group projects, you're not doing very well. Oftentimes you hold your emotions in, which create problems in the school. You start fighting at school, you start getting depressed, and then your grades start to decline. If you can't communicate well, you're not very smart, to be honest. It's also the way you display yourself. To be able to communicate very important or effectively and efficiently, it's definitely a staple, and I feel like in education, it's very undervalued.
Yeah, you're right.
Like if we start this at a younger age, then you don't have to worry about not communicating your feelings to whether it's a problem at a school, not talking to teachers, not just being able to communicate to people goes a lot farther than people think and
Oh,
school
absolutely.
systems think. So
I agree. Now, one of the things that I did in my class, and I don't know if you recognize this, do you know why I make you guys write everything by hand the first semester?
what?
Because it helps you write out something to communicate clearly. You're actually sitting there processing what you're saying, how you're saying it, and how you're defining or crafting your message by writing it out. And you're actually invested in each word and where it's placed, punctuation, everything. Helps you learn your own communication style. It helps you understand your own voice, and it helps you actually become a better communicator. As a teacher, I'm also learning that, but also learning your communication style. That's why I do what I do in the classroom. A lot of people don't know that. Or I tried to communicate that towards the second semester because I realized I needed to explain the why. A lot of students think that we just assign assignments to keep you busy, but really there needs to be a why. If we're just keeping you busy, that's not a good why. The good why is that I'm helping you become a better refined speaker, writer, communicator. Not because this is a social justice class. I still want you to refine personal skills so that you come out as a whole person, not just a compartment of a person that only knows about social justice and ethics. There are different components that I want you to be able to integrate into your everyday life through this class so that when you go beyond this class, those are skills you actually learn, not just the content, but also the skills. What is the best advice you've ever received?
Let me think here. I think I already know.
Yeah.
And honestly, I don't think it has to do with anyone that told me this. It was actually probably within this month it kind of hit me.
Okay.
It's not really like a quote or anything. It's
Doesn't
kind of
matter.
just like
Could be a lesson.
I'm already a quarter way done with my life, if I'm being honest. That's assuming you get to 80 years old, by the way.
Right.
That's assuming 80 is a healthy age. That's a long age. So, I'm running out of time. That's always running in the back of my mind. And with the talk that we had in the beginning and kind of where I want to go with my life and stuff like that, if there's no like next year, I feel like everything I have to do, really got to plan it out because time, you really don't got that much. You
You
really
got to put
don't.
in the work.
Yeah, you don't got enough time either. Like, I think the fact that I really calculated everything, I was a quarter done with my life. It was like,
It's an eye opener.
it is. It really is.
I am genuinely interested in people's journeys. I'm genuinely interested in people's struggles in life, where they are struggling currently, because I think it's really important to talk about that because we're not alone. And I don't think you're the only one. Someone told me once that because of somebody's darkness is somebody's light. They're not alone in their journey, and there are the ups and downs of life, and that's just how life is. to be able to talk about those things freely and be vulnerable enough to share with people allows people to move out of that space of despair
Hmm.
and be able to say, oh, yeah, I just keep on trucking. And that's what you were saying, is that I got to keep on trucking along. Yeah, my circle of social has kind of dwindled, in which that's true as you get older. And a lot of my relationships are wide range of ages and walks of life. And I think it's time to start talking about those stories. Why are we in a relationship? Why are we still connected? What's your story? And is it important? I think every story is important because those stories of hope and resilience are so important to be shared because I think we have all struggled. We all find our low valley points in life and somehow we always get out. We always do. And for you, you're still trying to figure it out, right? But to hold the people that root for you and want you to be successful, those are the people you get around and contribute to your life. That's the point of this podcast is we're finding those common themes that we've all are going through. And hopefully through the stories of other people, people will find hope and find their common thread. These are stories which need to be said because you're not a celebrity. I'm not a celebrity. People that I'm interviewing are not celebrities. We always expect to hear that from celebrities. How did you succeed in life? What about the everyday person? What about their strife and struggle and how they found hope through resilience? Those are the stories I'm most interested in. Do you think your senior retreat helped at
Oh
all?
my God. I loved it. Yeah, that retreat, honestly, God, I think everyone needed it. Whether it was just bad blood between, I mean, I talked to Timmy. They asked a question of someone that maybe you've had beef with,
That
and
you may need to reconcile with?
exactly. I came up to Timmy, and so me and Timmy had always, we never really butted heads like face to face. He came up to me, and I would have came up to him, to be honest with you, because I don't really have that many problems with our class, but to be able to just talk to someone and look around the room and see all these friendships that were made, whether it was freshman year, sophomore year, and whether they're just not friends anymore, but they're just trying to at least apologize and maybe come a little bit closer. Emotions were through the roof that day for sure. Everyone cried. And then we got these notes. Those notes broke me down a lot. It was about our freshman year self, basically mentioning ourselves, and I don't want to get too deep into it because I felt like I failed my younger self, to be honest
Mm.
with you. And right then and there, I just started crying. I opened it and I just started crying, and I felt so bad. But that day was really needed. To go back to that younger self part, every day now, it's kind of like, well, how would I feel about that? Like when I was, younger. That retreat was honestly beautiful, if I'm being honest. I think everyone would say that.
I remember that retreat very well when just leading that and kind of curating it because I think there was already a shell of a retreat. There were points where I helped refine and those kind of conversations and interactions are so needed before moving on to the next big thing
Yeah.
is to kind of have those kind of closures and processing your thoughts, your feelings for the last 4 years of just like, these were treasured moments and there were points where we all failed and there were points where we really excelled. But it's all part of that journey of growth of life and becoming that better version of yourself now. You recognize some of the things that you failed to acknowledge or do, and you have another 4 years to kind of like, don't mess it up now. Take it with you and live it.
I think it's beautiful. To be honest, seeing myself as a failure in that day, like you said, just amplifies your next 4 years. And I feel like it just really is like, well, I'm not going to fail, my freshman year in college.
Yeah.
So compared to the goals that I'll have, when I'm graduating, you just don't want that to happen again. That feeling I felt that day. I mean, it was heartbreaking. I'm not the one to cry, especially in public, but, when I was in a circle, everyone's reading their notes. Some people went outside, but I stayed where I was because I didn't think much of it. I didn't even know what I wrote in there, to be honest with you. And then I opened it up, and then it was just like, yeah. And to be honest with you, doing this also just opens my eyes and kind of amplifies everything that I said.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of reminds me of everything that, whether it's the struggles or something that I believe in, to stick with it.
There are a few things that Matthew left with me that really stood out to me. Feeling loss isn't failure. It's actually a clear sign that you are in motion, that you're growing, that you're paying attention. Your 20s aren't meant to be perfectly mapped out. They're meant to be explored. And Matthew reminds us, in the midst of uncertainty, community can be that lifeline. People who can see you when you can't even see yourself. We also talked about identity, how complex it is growing up mixed, misunderstood, or misread, and how powerful it is to be seen and proud of who you are. And of course, he dropped a truth about emotional social intelligence, how the ability to connect, speak clearly, and how you carry yourself matters, especially in the real world. And maybe most importantly, we came back to this: purpose evolves, and that's okay. Whether you are restarting a project, your YouTube channel, or something that is a passion project of yours, discerning whether or not to switch schools or even majors, or just trying to figure out what kind of person you want to be. You don't have to have everything together in order to keep going. Thanks for listening to The Common Thread. Like the episode, share it with someone who you think needs to hear this. If you find yourself in this space, just remember you're not alone. Keep showing up. You're becoming something.